This is a Ctronics 2.4 GHz HD wireless NVR system. It's got 4 Wi-Fi cameras. Each camera's resolution is 1280 by 960. Inside the box we've got the Ctronics NVR, a set of instructions, a power supply for the NVR, a set of screws I think for mounting the hard drive because this doesn't come with a hard drive, an Ethernet cable, a little sticker there to let everybody know that there's CCTV coverage in operation, a mouse which plugs into the back of this, and also an antenna there that obviously can be placed in different positions to improve the coverage. 4 cameras, each one with its own power supply, fixings, waterproof connector and aerial. So the first thing I'm going to do is attach the aerials to the cameras. So that's all the aerials connected. It only took a couple of minutes. So this NVR is designed to take a 3.5-inch SATA hard drive. So I'm not sure whether this is going to work, but I'm going to try and fit a 2.5-inch. I've checked up and these holes don't align, so I'm not going to be able to use the holes. But in order to change the hard drive, if you have got a 3.5-inch SATA hard drive, you've got to remove these 6 screws. And then the base just pops out. And those are the 2 connections that need to be connected to the hard drive. So this will connect to the hard drive no problem. So that can go there. So that's a hard drive connected. What I'm going to do is try and find some double-sided tape to stick that to the inside of the NVR. That feels pretty solid. So these screws are provided by the manufacturer for fitting the hard drive. Obviously I'm not going to use them because I've used double-sided tape. When you put these screws in, don't over-tighten them because the unit underneath is not particularly strong, so you could damage the plastic supports that the screws go into if you're not careful. So looking at the back of the NVR, I've got the HDMI cable connected and that goes through to my TV. I've got the Ethernet cable coming from the NVR and into a switch there, so basically that's connected to the network. So I've got the mouse connected into a USB socket there, and that is the power supply, but the power supply is not plugged in yet. The only thing I've got to do now is to plug in the NVR. Well, that's 1 camera up and running. That's 2. That's 3. So I've worked out that it's this camera that's not on, because I can put my fingers in front of the other ones and you'll see that they show up. So we'll try swapping the power supplies over. Right, so camera 3's come on and camera 2 is still off. That's telling me there's a faulty power supply. I shall contact the manufacturers and see what they say. Right, so if you want to actually set the cameras up, I thought I was filming but I wasn't, so I'll just show you what I did. If you right click with the mouse and go to Setup Wizard, first of all you get this QR code which is for the Android link and the iOS link and also the Cloud ID. Well, I'll do that later on. Then if you go to Next, this is where you can start changing things like the time zone and the way the date's configured, that type of thing. So I've already done that. And then if we go Next again, we get the network set up. Well, there's nothing wrong with the network, that's fine, I've got no issues with it, so I'll leave that as it is. And then if I go Next again, this is where you can format the hard drive. So I formatted it about 2 minutes ago thinking I was filming it. It's very, very easy. All I did was click on that little box up there that says Format, and then I clicked on Format and it formatted the hard drive. It took about 2 minutes. I contacted Ctronics and told them that there was an issue with the power supply, and within 2 days one arrived at my door from Amazon, so that was a very quick turnaround and it was very reassuring. So with 4 working cameras, I decided that what I wanted to do was install this system inside the house. I didn't want it outside the house, I wanted it inside the house. I made some bases for the cameras just out of some scrap wood from the garage, and I've mounted them in the house. Now setting the cameras up is quite difficult because the range is not brilliant. It's not bad, believe me, it's not bad, but it's not brilliant either. So you need to place the cameras within range of the NVR, and I've moved the NVR into the dining room away from where I am now, and there's no television in there. So what I had to do was set it all up and then use the software to work out what was happening with the cameras. And I've been away for 4 days, and while I've been away for 4 days I've had the cameras on motion detect and they've worked really well. I did find that on motion detect they had to be on the second lowest setting in order to work, because if you had them on sensitive they were just like recording virtually all the time. So I put it on the, not the lowest, the one above that, and they seem to have been fine. And because they're on motion detect they don't take up an awful lot of hard drive space either. So I'm very pleased with the way it's working. So this is one of the cameras that I've mounted. It's in the living room. All I did was mount it on a wooden base. Now this is only really rough and I only did it to set the cameras up. I'll make something a little bit neater when I get round to it. But each camera now is mounted on a scrap piece of wood and it works really well. You can basically move them anywhere you want around the house. This one is set up in the hallway. I've got another one installed in the kitchen. And the last camera is in the dining room, and as you can see they're very portable. You can virtually put them anywhere that you want, so long as there's a shelf or a flat surface to stand them on. Before I set it all up I downloaded the app using those QR codes on the screen that I showed you earlier, and this is the one for the Apple iPad. It's on my Apple iPad mini. I've got one on an Android device and they both work exactly the same. The app is called IP Pro, so if I click on that, that's what you see, and you can see that it's in like the vertical mode. So you need to remember that, because if you want to change anything you need to get back into that vertical mode in order to adjust it. I'll show you what I mean. So if I click on the cameras, you can see that's a live stream now. Now there is a slight delay on this, but you're always going to get that with a Wi-Fi system. Now if I put that back horizontally, you'll see that we've got all 4 cameras there, and you can select each camera individually. So you can flip backwards and forwards between the cameras. If you leave it in the horizontal mode you can go back to your 4 screens, but you can't adjust anything. What you need to do, let me pan out a bit, is to put that back in the vertical mode so that you've got this menu at the bottom, and as soon as you press playback it will play back the beginning of the current day. And remember, everything's on motion detect, so if I click playback now it will go to the first thing it's detected, which was this morning the dogs running into the kitchen. And then if you want to you can actually search other events during the day. So I don't know whether you can see, but there's a little sliding scale there which is a 24-hour clock. Each section of blue is video. So that is me setting up the camera to film the camera that's set up in the kitchen. So it's quite simple to use, and you can select different channels and then slide the timing scale along to see what you want to actually look at. For anyone that doesn't have a tablet, you can actually use your computer to look at what's going on the DVR, but you actually need to install Internet Explorer. It won't work on Microsoft Edge or Chrome or anything like that. In the instructions there are 2 web addresses and either one of those work. So that's me logged on to dvr163.com. At the top it says Cloud ID. Now the Cloud ID, it's written along the edge of the screen when you're looking at the screen on the NVR through the TV. So you can get your Cloud ID from there, and then you've got to put the camera username and password, and this is a camera username, so I've just left admin in there, which is how it comes from the manufacturer, and I've put my own password in, and putting your own password in will stop other people from being able to log on and look at your camera. And there we go, we've got the 4 cameras. They should liven up any moment now. That's the live feed, and obviously you can go from one camera to the other the same as you can on the app. If you go to playback, then you get a menu and you've got cameras 1, 2, 3 and 4. There's your 24-hour clock down there. You can set the date at the top here, so it's pretty easy to use. I think it's a very good security system. I'm very impressed with it. The camera quality is pretty good. You'll definitely be able to recognise somebody if they're reasonably close to the camera. I don't think it would be so easy from a distance, but I would say that goes for most security systems as well. The instructions leave a fair bit to be desired, and you need to spend a fair bit of time with the system hooked up to the telly, going through the menus to learn how to use it. But I've got a fairly big bungalow and I've covered a fairly large area inside the bungalow using the cameras with just their normal aerials fitted. So I think it's excellent value for money. I would like to see the manufacturers make it so that you can fit either a 2.5 or 3.5 inch hard drive. I certainly am very glad I've got it in the house, and I was using it all the time when I was away from the home, just keeping an eye on the place, and it does give you a little bit of reassurance. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that review, and thank you for watching.